today's goal, our goal for today is just to review this section and kind of to see how there is a mix of cultures that has influenced Mexico, not just in the past and history, but throughout this entire, even today. When you look at the art, we're going to look at art today, and you're also in your groups, you're going to look at specific holidays and traditions that they still celebrate in Mexico. And so I'm going to come around and I'll check this. Yes, did you have something you want to say? Okay, we're going to talk about that soon, just so hold it in the back of your mind. Okay. All right, so in our reading yesterday, one of the things that it was talking about is that it had certain characteristics. The Mexican government had certain characteristics that were similar to the United States. With the person next to you, what are they? What are certain characteristics that the Mexican government has in common with the United States government?
Three branches executed what is
Okay, tell your partner a little bit about trade. Trade in Mexico.
Mexico needs the United States.
They're planning to continue the NAFTA, so not only for Canada and the U.S. The prices go down before, so eventually it will be and South Africa, America, to the NAFTA.
Okay. All right. I heard some good things. Great news. You all said Mexico. That's great because that's the country we're talking about. All right. If you said anything like this, you are correct. If you were thinking this, you are correct. It has three branches of the government, just like the United States. It has the legislative branch that creates what? The laws. The executive branch that carries out the laws. And generally, you have your president, exactly. And then you have your judicial branch that interprets. Does that mean that it, translates it to another language and then tells you what it means? No, but if you think of interpretation, it tells you what it means in application to the citizens. So we have those three branches. When did they create their constitution?
1990s.
Not 1990s.
1917.
1917, exactly. So we were talking about, good memory. We were talking about this one powerful political party that was in Mexico and kind of governed Mexico for a long time. Do you remember the name of that party? And then what does it stand for?
Institutional Revolutionary Party.
Exactly. But it's the other way around because this one right here reflects the Spanish name. This one right here is what we've translated it to in English. But can someone please explain to me, even though it says every 6 years the president would name another PRI member to succeed him, why does that seem weird? Why is this weird, David?
Because it's not really much of an election, because it's not really people's decision, it's pretty much whatever is coming.
Exactly. It's kind of like if I were to say, you know what, you guys are going to vote for a team captain soon, but if it were me, if it was my choice, I would 100% choose Hokie, if it was me, right? I mean, you could do whatever, but I might give you that. You could do whatever, though. It's your choice still. But I would vote for Hokie, because that's what I would vote for. Okay, now you can all, oh, and by the way, this is not anonymous. I'm going to see your names on this. So if you vote for someone else, I'll know. But that's okay. That's fine. You'll just get that. But that's okay. It's still your choice. Okay, there's something weird with it, right? It feels a little bit funny. So they had this weird cycle that was going back and forth that even though they had elections, the president would name a member that he was like, yes, I would like this person to succeed me and to come after me and to kind of carry on this legacy. But then this was broken when who came to power or what political party? See you later. Yes, hot. Not the bread. And then what's the name of the party? Exactly. All right, so when we're talking about this is a big deal. And after Fox came into power, what party has consecutively won after that? The same party. So what does that say to the citizens, or what is that telling us? They want to choose, and their voices are being heard. All right, so let's talk about the culture. What groups are represented in Mexico?
Native and Spanish.
Native and Spanish.
Roman Catholic.
Roman Catholics, exactly.
Spiritualism.
Spiritualism. And we also have, you said the Spanish, right? So European. So you have European, you have your native groups that were there, your indigenous groups, and then you have the mix that came as a result of it. And it said 1 in blank people can speak another language. They speak Spanish, 1 in 3, exactly. So the culture combines, it's right there, Spanish and Native American traditions. And about 3/4 of the people practice Roman Catholic faith. Who could tell me why? What in their history pointed back to this faith, this religion being so prominent? Think about the history.
When the Europeans came to Mexico, they brought the churches. So
Exactly.
I think the preacher was president.
Yes. Yeah. So their leaders were also their religious leaders. All right, so let's talk about this free market in the late 1900s. And the whole idea was that they wanted more growth and more jobs. They also had trade with the United States, and that led to a growing Mexican economy, right? And we're going to discuss a little bit of what that looks like. Sometimes there's good things with trade, sometimes there's not so great things. So what about the workers? Most of them work in what kind of industry? Gracie, which one? Service, exactly. And we saw a decrease in agriculture and an increase in service from the 1950s. Remember the pie chart? It was almost half agriculture or service and maybe a quarter agriculture. But then currently, it's about 75% service and really, really, really small percentage, like 7% agriculture. 1/4 of Mexicans labor in factories, and we have this word that it was your vocabulary word. What is it called when someone moves but sends money back home?
Remittance.
Remittance, exactly. So we have some of those in Mexico who cannot find a job, who have moved north to the United States to find jobs, but they send home that money. All right, trade, and you had to answer this earlier. Hopefully you said that it was very important to the Mexicans, right? The Mexican economy. It is extremely important, and Mexico is very much dependent on that trade, their economy. And so it has free trade agreements with more than 40 other countries. What does that mean? Free trade, woohoo! I don't get any money from it. Is that what it means? No, it's not free trade. It just means what is limited. Barriers, maybe taxes, right? So we have this free trade agreement that helps it because that means that they're able to get their products out to more countries. And because of this growing trade industry, we have more jobs that are available. But as a result, we have, okay, if I'm looking to maybe create this product, and I see that I could do a factory in this part or a cheaper one in this part, I'm going to choose the cheapest option if I'm that company. And so that could negatively affect the Mexican factory industry because some people might choose the cheaper option. How does that affect their future? If people now are looking at, oh, this might be cheaper if I do it here versus if I do it where I used to do it in Mexico. How does that affect their future? See it up?
Trades based, the manufacturing, the industry stuff would be in China.
It might be another place. And that means the factories might shut down. And if the factories shut down, what happens?
No more money.
no more money, less jobs. Remember that term I used yesterday, brain drain? Not brain wash, but brain drain. So if you have that group of young people who do not have jobs, they might leave an economy and leave a country, but that means that it's a loss to that country. That generation is now leaving. And so as a result, we see that there is economic growth happening in Mexico, but at the same time, there's that dependency it has with the United States, because so much of their exports go to the United States. So if the United States is doing well, then Mexico is.
Okay.
Yeah. But if there's a decrease in production, an economy is decreasing,
Mexico goes down.
Yeah. So we have this relationship that's very dependent. All right, so we're going to pause here. We're not going to do this question yet, but I want you to think about this. How much does geography shape a country? But before we do, welcome to the gallery of Mexican paintings. Oh, you can't see it yet. 1 second. We're going to do this again.
I thought you were going to show us the pictures.
No.
I was like,
Okay, here we go. We're going to do this again. Are you ready? Welcome to the gallery, there we go, of Mexican paintings. We're going to look today at some of the artists that we talked about yesterday and when we were talking about the history of Mexico. You do not have to take any notes right now, but you are going to be discussing. So I want you to use all of your observational skills, okay? I've chosen some different pieces of art, and with these paintings and portraits, we're going to look at a couple of things. So these are from Diego Rivera, Frida Kahlo, and then David Alfaro Siqueiros. You're going to look at ways that they reflect your European and Native American traditions. So some of them are going to be very obvious. Others you might have to look at and decide for yourself how it represents both of those. All right, this first one is a mural. Remember, murals, are they big or are they small? Big. They're like usually wall size, okay? So this is an example of a mural painted by Diego Rivera. It's called Colonization, and it's the great city of Tecnochitlan. And I want you to look at it. He created it in 1945 to 1952. So when you look at this, you're going to stand up and you can come forward. You can come forward to look at it too so that you can have a better picture, okay? If you're like, no, I'm good, I can see perfectly from here because my eyesight's great, that's okay. But if you need to get up to look at all the different features, you're identifying, remember, European influence and tradition and Native American influence and tradition. So you're taking a look at it now. There's a lot of detail, isn't there? Okay, how do you see both traditions, both different groups, influences? How do you see it? And what?
War.
War, okay. Working. Do you see this right here? Slavery. What group do you think is being put to work?
Names.
What else? What else do you see? Trade. Right over here. If you look closely, you see some of these other things. Up here, what are they cutting down? Trees. Why do you think they're cutting down these trees?
More space.
More space to live. Who do you think is doing the work, though? And then do you see anything else that you find interesting? Like I said beforehand, there are a lot of details in this. Any other interesting things that show?
So, the man that has like a black hair.
Right here?
No, in the middle.
This one? Who do you think he is? No, guys, no. Wrong.
He was alive with us?
And this is just just the fashion of the age, okay? It's very fashionable. Okay. All right, so you can see that there's just a lot of mixture happening here, not only with the type of artwork, but also with what is being represented. I'm going to post this on Google Classroom later for those of you who want to see it in greater detail. Okay, this is another one. This one's called Making Tortillas. How do you see both cultures represented?
Tortillas is Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
They're making it in a native way.
Okay.
The dress.
The dress. What do you see about the dress? No. We're talking about Mexican, not Venezuelan. What is it? Different. A lot of different colors, a lot of different layers.
They use the pot.
They use the pot, exactly. All right, this is Frida Kahlo. This is the one that I was talking about earlier. So we have, this one is called Las Dos Fridas, or the Two Fridas. What is it representing? That's how her face, not her sister.
Bleeding.
One is bleeding. Okay, so you both have these hearts, you have this, bleeding. But what do you see? How do you see two cultures represented?
European, Western clothing, and then over there is the native one.
So what do you see with it?
Symbolism.
Symbolism. What is being symbolized?
The connection between.
The connection between these two. Gracie?
There are two same people. Person, but depending on what they are, they're hard.
Do you ever think of yourself that you could be kind of two different people, the person you are at home versus the person you are at school? Or the culture? Not that one, I'm talking about culturally. And hopefully it's never evil. So culturally speaking, do you ever feel like you're representing one culture in a specific context? And then when you go to another one, you're representing a different culture? Have you ever felt that before? So it's very interesting how she represented that. And then this is the last one we're going to look at. This is called From the Dictatorship of Porfirio Diaz to the Revolution, the People in Arms. So what do you see here? First of all, what revolution is it talking about?
Mexican.
And why were the people angry?
Because of the
Government. And what do they want? Money. They wanted land to farm. They wanted food. Yeah. So what about this right here? What do you see? Who are the people who are fighting? But look closely. What do they have? Farmers. Exactly. So it's not like the Mexican army who has been training for this every day. These are the people, the common everyday people. And look, you have these ladies right over here. So what is that showing you? Everyone. Everyone. It was a fight, it was a revolution that was brought on by the people. Okay, so what I want for you to do right now, you can find someone, and we're going to look at that later, you can find someone who has a device, and you're going to research a local Mexican festival today. So find someone with a device, and you are going to research a Mexican festival. So for example, I put two up here. Not everyone do this one or this one. Day of the Dead, Cinco de Mayo. Yeah. You can. I'm just saying not everyone do this one and not everyone do this one. So you are going to explain within Google Classroom. I'm going to post it so that you can explain it on here. At least two customs related to the festival, okay? So if you're like, wait, what is customs again? A traditional and widely accepted way of behaving or doing something that is specific to a particular society, place, or time. So do they eat a specific